But news about tomorrow: because of the rain we've had today, play will start early at 11 o'clock on the outside courts, at noon on centre and court 1. The gates are open if you're coming here tomorrow at 10 o'clock, but if you're staying at home watching it on the television with us, grandstand is on the air at 11:30 on BBC One, and tennis on BBC Two at noon. Well, that's tomorrow, but hopefully we've got plenty of tennis to bring you today. And on centre court, you can see it's all ready for play. We just await the two players now. Tim Henman, the British #2, who has his supporters there, and Byron Black of Zimbabwe. As I just tell you, the score was 4-3 to Byron Black. But let's join our commentators now, Chris Bailey and David Mercer.
It's exactly an hour and 5 minutes since they left the court. And so Tim Henman will serve at 3-4 down in the opening set. And I'm sure many of you will have come home from work or wherever in the last hour or so. So let's just recap on what happened. First 4 games went with serve, although both men had break points. Then Henman broke to lead 3-2. Black broke back immediately for 3-all, and Byron Black held to love in the 7th game. Chris, Tim Henman's a great backgammon player. Would you think he'll have been taking somebody's money over the last hour?
Who can tell? Who can tell? I wouldn't have thought he'd be doing that in the locker rooms now. I'd imagine he'd have been having a chat with his coach, David Felgate, maybe talking about a few things that David might have seen while the match was being played. There's Lucy, Tim's girlfriend, in the middle, Tim Newnham on the left, and Jan Felgate, who's Tim's agent. And I think Mr. Felgate is going to walk through a picture fairly soon. There he is. I suppose you wonder, David, whether David Felgate there gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning when Tim's playing and puts his towel on the seat, because he never seems to sit anywhere different, does he? Always has that front row seat.
Because of the length of the stoppage, they'll have another 5-minute warm-up. We'll be using used balls, and the match balls will be safely stored at the bottom of the umpire's chair, and at the end of the warm-up these practice balls will be put away and the match balls will be brought out. In fact, it'll be a brand new set of balls, because of course they've played 7 games, and you change balls after the first 7, the warm-up counting as 2, and then after every 9 games. Tim Henman, well, one thing he will, I'm sure, have thought about is the quality of his serving, because in the early part of the match he only got 40% of first serves in. But I suppose it's always a problem, Chris. If he compromises too much on his serve, the first serve, to get it in, he's playing one of the best returners in the game.
Yeah, it's something that everybody has an opinion on him, and obviously we have one as well. And I think at times things that somebody's been worried about is that he just seems to keep ploughing on, hitting his serve all the time, regardless of whether it's going in or out, instead of compromising. I think at times he just does do that. I know that when he was going through a bad patch earlier on in the year with his serve, and he was continuing to try and smash the ball down as hard as he could all the time. And I spoke to David about it, and I said, well, you know, what are you trying to do with that? And he said, are you trying to change anything? And he said, no. He said, I'm just telling him to get up there and have a go, and really try and, again, keep cracking the ball as hard as he can. And he said eventually he'll find his rhythm. Now, some people might say that's a bit risky to have somebody as talented as Henman in your camp, and just to say, well, just keep going for it and it'll come right, rather than maybe stepping back a bit of a pace and getting the ball in. I think he has to find a happy medium, and at times I think he just needs to put the kicker in. He used to do that to great effect a couple of years ago when he was going up through the rankings and was polishing off all these good players very easily. He had a good change up of pace, he could put in a kicker on a big point out to the backhand and come in and volley, because he does move well at the net. It's something that I think is an area that's improved in Greg Rosetsky's game, is the way that he changes up his service delivery. It's not all power. There's a mixture. There's a lot of slice, there's three-quarter balls being put in, and there's the big flat ones. I just feel at times that maybe Tim does get into the groove of trying to crack the ball as hard as he can, and whether it's going in or out, he'll just keep ploughing on through rather than maybe taking a bit of the pace off and putting a ball in now and then.
So let's have a look at Byron Black, who with his brother Wayne forms the Zimbabwean Davis Cup team that beat Britain last year when Britain were without the injured Tim Henman and Greg Rosetsky, and they pulled off a tremendous win in the first round of the World Group, having been promoted to the top 16 for the first time. They beat Australia in Australia. It really was a magnificent performance, and his sister Carla Black is also playing here. Let's see how he's progressed. Beating Richard Fromberg, the Australian, in 5 sets, from 2 sets to 1 down, and then Jan Michael Gamble, who has a win over Tim Henman this year in the quarterfinals in Tokyo. He put the American away in 3 straight sets. A very neat and compact player. 5'9". I suppose we used to say that was far too small to play tennis, but Marcelo Rios is 5'9", and he's reached the top of the world rankings this year, albeit briefly. Tim Henman's route through to this 3rd round encounter, well, he too had to go 5 sets against Yuri Novak, and then beat the South African David Nainkin, the qualifier, from 4-2 down in the 3rd set, and really playing very, very well from then on in. Well, of course, when he played Yuri Novak, Tim Henman was complaining a little bit that people were saying to him, "Come on, Tim, close him out, 2 sets to love up, because we want to go and watch the football." Well, I suppose the same thing applies. It's, what, just an hour and a quarter to kick off time in Lens, which you can watch on BBC One, England against Colombia. And I suppose there'll be a few people saying, "Oh gosh, what are we going to do? Are we going to stay and watch this, or are we going to go home or find a TV somewhere?" But well, I think these people are going to stick with Tim through thick and thin. Whistle a happy tune while you go along too. I think for the first time in his life, Chris Bailey has been silenced. Anxious waits, of course, not just for the players, but for those closest to them. Jan Felgate, who's the wife of David Felgate and also Tim's agent, writing the old nails.
Byron Black leads about 4 games to 3. First set. Please, ready.
New balls, 3-4, first set.
First service. Love. 30 love.
Good positional play there from Henman, because if you've drawn a man that far out, he can really only attempt the pass down the line. It's virtually impossible to go cross court, so cover the down the line pass.
Again, Henman. Four games on.
A very positive Tim Henman on the restart. A love service game. And after 45 minutes of playing time, we're level at 4-all. Missed it, and I suspect he was distracted by the fall.
Love 15.
Looked a fairly nasty fall as well. It was a good pick-up from Henman, good low volley, and there his right foot just goes. I'm not sure whether Black saw him go, actually, or not. Love 15.
Love 30.
Ball.
Rather tentative from Henman, that forehand. Much better when he rips the racket head up the back of the ball. That one just tried to steer it back behind Black.
(15-40).
2 points for a 5-4 lead.
(30-40). Deuce.
Yes, he'd engineered the opening, but just not taking the chances at the moment.
Advantage Henman. deuce.
That's a bad error from Henman. Won't be happy with that one. Second serve, break